are all worried and crying and blaming each other for what we consider as a learning crisis. Yes, there were problems which were worsened by COVID, but at the same time, the different countries, including the Philippines, devised ways of responding, and so we moved on to the Zoom approach. We moved on to the reduction of our learning requirements for education and for the curriculum and so on. And that has to be given emphasis. I always like to repeat that because we cry so much about the PISA, parang pinipisa tayo ng PISA. But I always say that in the Philippines, we have 20 countries, we have 20 schools, 16 of which are from the private sector, and the others are from the public sector, whose scores, whose PISA scores either exceed or are equal to those of Europe and the leading countries like Singapore. But we don't notice that. We don't notice those 20 schools which have responded very positively. So I'd like to emphasize there is good news about education, even as we know that there's also a lot of challenges, especially climate change and political changes, as well as transitions and all that. But nonetheless, there is also good news, and we have to learn from the good news. From this, I visited most of these 20 schools to find out what their secret is. Why is it that their scores are equivalent to or even higher than Singapore? Why is it that their scores in PISA are higher than that of Europe and the other countries? But perhaps we enjoy bad news, and so I'd like to emphasize and now the challenge for education, and this is why we are supporting this UNESCO meeting, is if we say that so much change has occurred, well, according to Friedrich Engels, the only permanent thing in life is change. Change is always there, and we have to accept it and to live with it. And therefore, we in the Southeast Asian region are comparing notes on our experience, and we are learning from each other and as to how they manage with all the political, the economic, and the social transformations that have been going on. So that is my advocacy, and I'm very, we in Seameo Innotech are very happy and honored to support the Department of Education in its effort. Of course, each head of institution always brings in something new to the. It's like getting married. A bride has to bring in whatever gift she has in our culture, and so we have a new secretary. We are prepared to support him, and he supported very much of the arts as well. Technology is, all the IA and AI and the digital things that are happening are not only useful for science and, as I said, technology, but they're also helpful for the humanities. In our gallery which we set up, you have a small piece of sculpture there, which is made up entirely of ano nga itong clips,
Stapler.
yung tinatapon natin, paper clips ba ito? Yes, paper clips, and it's a sculpture made of paper clips, and it's very beautiful. So yun lang ang message ko. It's not only technology. Not all of us can be scientists. Not all of us can be Nobel Prize winners, but the humanness of our society as well as the other countries. We have to share with each other, and that is what the conference is all about. So,
Madam, what's your call to action to all the educational leaders who are joining the regional conference?
my call to action is, as I said, we are planning for the future, but we are planning for a future which we cannot predict. We cannot predict as accurately as we want to. Like, we prepare our learners. We have how many million learners? How do we prepare them for jobs which may not exist by the time they finish? Because right now, for example, laboratory examinations, uh, they don't need to go to school to, you just attach something to the wrist of a patient, and all your answers are already there. And so, how do we predict, for example, the study of medicine or the study of law, which are classic subjects in education? And also, we must not forget one of my favorite sayings, which I learned as a young faculty member, is that I said it already. There's only one thing permanent in life, and that is change. And if we don't recognize it, then certainly we will have problems. And this is why we have this meeting. Uh, Look at Indonesia, for example. Indonesia is very much larger than the Philippines, but their accounting system was set up by earlier during the 70s and the 80s, was set up by Filipino experts. Look at Brunei, for example. Brunei is perhaps one of the wealthiest countries in the world. But the palace of the Sultan of Brunei was designed and built by Filipino engineers. In NASA, for example, one of the leading scientists there, you can immediately tell that he is Filipino because his accent is very Bugolano, and he is a leading scientist in NASA. But I think we have to remind ourselves that there is always something good that comes out with every crisis, and this is what the conference is all about. It's very large, 26 countries, and you have 6 minister level officials also attending. It shows how serious we are about this business of education.
Madam, how arduous or challenging was it for you?
Pardon?
How arduous or challenging to accept the new Secretary of Education during the transitioning period as far as project management is concerned?
Then we have a new Secretary of Education, and we respect him. I know him very well, and he is familiar because he chaired the EDCOM as senator, and so we look forward. He will be different, as I was different from my predecessor, as my predecessor was also different, and we respect that, but we share the same support for the humanities as well, because he comes from a family also of humanists, just like President Bongbong Marcos, whom I quoted in my speech kanina, where he paid tribute to the artists, to culture, and to recognize their contribution to society. So, there might be, we don't deny that there are challenges, but at the same time, we have to recognize that there are things. Without COVID, we could not have reduced the number of subjects. We removed 15,000 competencies already required. We reduced it to 5,000 because it's impossible to bring in all the children. And we had to move on to Zoom, we had to move on to technology to be able to reach all the children that we wanted to reach. And I am very sure, I'm very confident that the new Secretary of Education, with his knowledge of what the challenges are, now he is facing also and working with all of us on finding, creating solutions to the challenges which were recognized in the scope.
Well, then, Sir Arlo from the Manila Times campus press editor will be asking question also.
Wala na akong maisip, ma'am. Pero anyway, nabanggit nyo na merong differences with the new secretary like everyone else. So, sa tingin niyo po, ano yung nagawa nyo nung kayo ang secretary na i-retain ni Secretary Angara?
I would not want to preempt the thoughts of Secretary Angara, but we have confidence that she knows the challenges, but now he's leading the development of solutions to the challenges as Secretary, and we have great faith and confidence in him because very clearly is balancing the humanities and technology, which is very important. We are not going to produce robots or machines alone. Not everybody can be a great scientist or a mathematician, but there are those who can be great artists as well, and even the president himself recognizes this. So I look forward to new transformations which the Secretary of Education will probably introduce.
Hindi po ba kailangan nating kaunting baguhin lang? Instead na STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, STEAM with the arts.
STEM, yes. And this is what we are advocating. As I said, every bride who joins a family or every head of institution must bring something, must bring a gift to the institution he is serving. I endeavored to do that, bring in the humanities. My predecessor had her own programs. So I have confidence that Secretary Angara will also pick it up, will also lead in the search for solutions to our problems. Taking for granted that there is a crisis, which I believe we have to have a balanced view. Only recently, out of how many leading scientists of the world, and you saw that all in the newspapers, how many Filipino scientists were cited as great scientists. One of them, of course, is Dr. Carmencita Padilla, and then you have Glenn of Silca, and so on. But even before them, you have President Emil Javier, many scientists, and they are recognized. So we have to balance our view of what we consider as a terrible crisis. And I'm very glad that the Unesco, Bangkok UNESCO office is headed by former Minister of Education of Peru. There was a time when they were at the bottom of the PISA things. Napisa sila ng PISA. And they really studied the questions very, very, very well, and they prepared for it, and they moved up. And I know another country which for several years did not join PISA just so they could prepare for the PISA exam. But PISA, of course, as you all know, is not the only measure of the quality of education. You measure the quality of education by the quality of the human beings in the country itself. And we have much to be proud of, I believe. And I'm sure Secretary Angara will carry that on, in his own way, of course. So,
But then I'd just like to clarify this. Do you think that PISA sometimes could be also biased on their results and research?
well, when I joined as Secretary of Education, I had a very long dialogue with the director, which developed PISA. PISA is developed to compare 15-year-olds and how much do they know of math, etc., etc. And And I said, it's not like a beauty contest. Each country has its own levels of beauty, and we cannot subject them to the same, exactly the same standards. I had, when I was vice president of the University of the Philippines for finance, we noticed that in the UPCAT exam, you are all familiar with the UPCAT exams. We noticed, our president noticed that the girls always got higher scores than the boys. And so he was worried that the time will come when the university will be a girls' university. And so he was thinking of adding additional points for the boys so that they can fare as well. And then this is just a story. The dean of the College of Medicine explained it to us